Here we have the inside of the Benimar Tessoro T483. If we firstly come to the main control panel just here, we can turn the 12 volt on by firstly pushing this button and then this one. Once we've done this, we can turn the water pump on and off on this button just here. The water pump needs to be on so we can get water out of the taps, flush the toilet and fill the boiler if it's been drained down. The last button along the top turns the outside awning light on and off. Buttons along the bottom mainly give us information. So this first one here will let us know the condition of the leisure battery, and then this button here will give us the condition of the vehicle battery. The leisure battery is located underneath the passenger seat and the vehicle battery underneath the driver's seat. This button lets us know how much fresh water is on board. When the grey water tank needs emptying, a red light will begin to flash just here to let you know. When your water drops from the last amber into the red, again this amber light here will begin to flash to let you know you need more fresh water. And if either of the batteries were low, again we would get flashing lights to indicate. This light here is just letting us know that we have main supply connected to the van, and a light will illuminate here when we start the engine to let you know that the alternator is charging the batteries. This last button just here controls the illumination of the control panel, so we can brighten it up and we can also dim it right the way down. Beside the main control panel, we then have the Truma control panel for your heating and hot water. At the moment it's just displaying the time and again letting us know that we have main supply. If we now press the button, you will see lots of icons appear, and as I rotate this button they will begin to flash. So if we start with the first icon just here, this one is for your heating. You'll see that the heating is off. All we now do is rotate the button and pick whatever temperature we would like it to be inside the motorhome, right the way up to a very toasty 30 degrees. So let's say we want it to be 30 degrees in here. Click on it to store it in and you'll see a little flames appeared here. That little flame there just represents the heating system, and it's just letting you know you've set a parameter. Whenever the heating's in operation, that flame there will begin to flash, and it will continue to flash until the temperature has been achieved. The thermostat for the heating is just here. If we now click the button again, we can rotate from heating to the next icon, which is hot water. Again, if I now click, hot water is off. And again, if I now rotate, we can heat hot water in eco mode, which will give us a temperature of about 40 degrees. If I rotate it again, it will give us a temperature of about 60 degrees. And again, we can put it into boost mode. Boost mode was mainly designed for if there's going to be more than one of you having showers in quick succession of each other, or if you just want a longer shower. If you do perform the boost and the heating's running, the heating will turn off as it needs that extra power to do the boost. Again, the icon will continue to flash until the temperature you have asked it has been achieved. If we now rotate from water to the next icon, this one here is power source. So we are currently using mains electricity using 2 kilowatts. If I rotate, I can lower the power consumption to 1 kilowatt. So it's very handy if you're on a low amp site to try and avoid tripping. We can also use both power sources together. So we can use a mixture of gas and mains at 2 kilowatts or a mixture of gas and mains at 1. This particular setting is extremely handy, especially in the winter months if you want to get up to temperature nice and quickly. It will only use the gas as it's required. And then lastly, if we have no main supply, we can solely run on the gas. The last top icon is the circulation fan for the heating system, so it's currently in eco mode. What we can do is either turn it up to high or boost. This heating fan can also be used to vent the motorhome as well. Firstly, you need to make sure that both hot water and heating are turned off. And if we now return to it, we can put it into vent and we have a fan speed of 1 to 10. If we now drop to the lower icons, this first one here is for a basic timer. So if I now click on it, it will ask for a start time. And again, just rotate, click to store. Once we've done this, we can then literally tell it what we want on within that time period. Lastly, timer on or off. If I now activate the timer, it will now come up in that corner just there, and within that time period those settings would now apply. If I now return to it, I can turn the timer off again, and when we go back in we can then alter it again. After timer, we then have clock set just here. And then lastly, we have the settings menu. So within this, we have offset, which is just for the thermostat just there. If you don't think it's quite correct, you can just adjust it slightly. Temperature, just if you prefer it displayed in Celsius or Fahrenheit. Brightness of the screen. 12 or 24 hour clock. Language. Index, which is more for the technicians, it just lets them know what software this is running. And then lastly, full factory reset. Every now and then these control panels will throw up error codes. They will usually be something relatively basic, so if you're running on mains supply and you're not plugged in or you've tripped, etc., it's going to let you know on the screen here that you do not have mains. Or if you're running on gas and you run out of gas or your gas bottle's not turned on, etc., again it will let you know. 9 times out of 10, as long as you rectify the problem, so flick the trip switch, replace your gas bottle, turn it on, etc., the error code will just disappear. If that's not the case, if you still have bits running along the top here, just make sure they're turned off, because it can reassess a lot faster when it's not trying to do lots of things at once. If when you've done that you still have no joy, I always do suggest the good old-fashioned turn it off, turn it on again, and just hold the button in here. Hold it until it literally says off. If when you turn it back on again you still have an error code, I then always suggest doing the factory reset. You can't hurt it in any shape or form. Sometimes these just need a hard reset, as it were. If it's a gas problem and you've tried to reset it a few times and it's still not working, it will lock you out for 15 minutes. You'll usually get a little 15-minute countdown timer on here, and you then just have to wait. It's all just for safety protocol. If you are running the system on gas, you cannot open the window here. You will see on it that there is a pressure switch just here, because the flue for the boiler sits underneath this window. So in the event of you opening this, it will cut the boiler out to prevent any carbon monoxide poisoning. You can also control the Truma system via the Truma app on a device. If you are going to do that, you need to download it from either the App Store or from Google Play. Once you've done this, make sure your Bluetooth is turned on and then launch the app. You'll see firstly a little button that pops up that says remote control. If you push that, you then just need to follow the on-screen instructions, and it will firstly tell you to come to the box above the microwave just here. It will firstly ask you to press the Bluetooth button just here. and it will then send the signal out and you will start to connect up. Once you're connected, you'll then be able to control your heating and your hot water locally via Bluetooth. You can also, if you want to, purchase a pay-as-you-go SIM card, which goes in where my finger is just here. If you then register that through the app, you can then control your heating and hot water from much further afield. Whilst we're up here, we also have the digital amplifier for the television aerial, just here, on and off, just on the side. Control the boost just here, and then it's just a matter of popping your TV on the TV bracket just here, and then we can plug it in up here. We have the aerial fly lead point, and then just depending on whether or not you're running a 12 volt TV or a 230 volt. If we now go underneath the bench seat just here, you will see that we have the Truma boiler itself just here. To drain the boiler down for winterization, it is done on the drain valve just here. These drain valves are automatic, so if the temperature inside this van drops below 3-4 degrees, this valve will automatically open and it will drop the water out of the boiler to avoid frost damage. If this happens, a little blue button will pop out just at the base of the unit just here. To refill the boiler from an auto drop, what you need to do is push the blue button back in. If it will not stay in, it's just too cold in the van and you will need to turn your heating on. Once this is reset, you just need to make sure that you've got water in your fresh tank, and then turn the water pump on, and the water pump will then begin to reprime the boiler. You will then just need to open up your taps. I usually firstly twist them to hot. They'll cough and splutter. Once the air has been pushed out, they will then begin to run freely. Then just turn to cold, and then once that's running freely, close back down and the system will fully prime. If we are going to manually drain the boiler, we come to the blue diamond just here. Firstly, make sure that the water pump has been turned off, and then all we do is just twist, and you'll see the button pops out at the bottom just here. To reset it, twist again and push back in to reset. Also underneath this bench seat we have the battery charger just here. This charger will charge up both the leisure battery and the vehicle battery from the main supply. We then have the mains trip switches just here, so if something's not working on mains, it's just your first port of call just here. So you've got your individual MCBs, the main RCD and the test button just here. Beside that we then have the 12 volt fuses. So if something's not working on 12 volt, just come and check whether or not a fuse is blown. The main one you will blow, if is going to be any, will be one of the yellow 20 amp fuses, which is the fuse for the drop down bed above my head here. If you have too much stuff on that bed when you put it back up, if the motor goes under too much stress, it will pop a fuse. Also underneath here we have the 3-stage battery charger. This will also let you know what the solar panel is up to just on here. Because this is a fully winterized van, if we come behind the driver's seat just here, you will find a switch, and this switch here is for the tank heater that's located in the waste tank. So if you are using the van in extremely cold climate and you have water going into the waste tank, you just need to make sure that you're flicking this on to avoid any freezing and frost damage. The freshwater tank does not have a heater in it, as it's an internal tank. So if we just move the table out of the way for a moment and we just remove the cushions,
you will find the freshwater tank. So if we do need to gain access to the tank, we can unscrew the black cap just here. Very handy if you want to add cleaning powders. And then we have the water pump just sitting on the top here. To make the two travel seats, we have this part here, and underneath it there are two levers that just need to be pulled, and it will then drop it out of the way. We can then pop the cushion back in, and there we have the two travel seats. With the drop down bed, operates just here. As soon as you let go, it will stop. You can have it in the higher position, which then requires the ladder just being hooked on here, and you will also find underneath the mattress there are nets that can then be clipped to the ceiling. If you are going to have it in the lower position, you just need to make sure that all the cushions are out of the way and that the table has also been lowered by using the key just down here. It is also imperative that you turn off the lights underneath the bed, because you can scorch the upholstery if they have not been turned off. If the bed was to malfunction, this can be manually wound up and down, and it is done just at this point here. If I now take the cover off, there's a 13mm nut just there, and you will see on the passenger seat just here the winding tool. We then have the hob, so we have the electric hot plate that will work on main supply. Red light comes on to let you know it's in operation, and then everything else is gas, so it's just push in, twist and push the igniter. Beneath it we then have the oven and the grill. So for the oven, push in to the left, and if I go back to the off position and then we go to the right, we can then fire up the grill. We have mains and 12 volt just there. And if we now go into the cutlery drawer, you will find the gas isolation taps for the motorhome. They are all in the on position and can really stay like that. I always say if you smell gas in the van, go to the source and turn the gas bottle off. We have the barbecue point, heating and hot water, fridge and the oven. Above the hob we have the extractor fan, light on and off just here, fan on and off on this one. Again, the microwave will work on main supply. It's always advisable to remove the contents for travel, and it's just a nice easy power just here, and then just twist full time. Beneath it we have the Thetford fridge freezer, on and off on the button just here. This is an automatic model, so as long as you are on A for auto, it will find the best power source it can for you. So because we're currently hooked up to main supply, it's put us onto mains. If I now went outside and pulled the mains lead out, it would then automatically attempt to fire itself up onto gas, and as soon as we start the engine, it will then automatically go over to 12 volt maintain to keep itself cold whilst on the move. We can take it out of auto if wanted, just by pressing the button here, so I can manually put it onto mains. I can manually put it onto 12 volt maintain. We are going to get an error code at the moment because the engine isn't running. And I can manually put it onto gas. But auto is the easiest one to have it on. Temperature control just here. And then the last one is for the unit's anti-condensation jacket. Currently the condensation jacket is turned off as it is not particularly warm outside today. It does need to be on in warmer climate, so I usually say 25 degrees plus really. What basically will happen is that the unit will build up condensation and then it will run down the back and cause a puddle. So the anti-condensation jacket just stops that. We then have the freezer compartment and the fridge. Because it is a very large fridge, you will see that you have a secondary travel catch at the bottom. So if you do have a lot of stuff in here, you can just flap this across to avoid the door being flung open. If we now come into the washroom, we have the basin just here, and then the Thetford toilet. The bowl does swivel about. To open to the cassette, just use the lever just here. Push to flush just here. And then close back up again. If this has been left open and you try to remove the cassette from the outside, it will not come out. So if you feel resistance, it's because somebody's left this open. Level indicator for the cassette is just tucked down here, so this little green square will rotate round to red when it needs emptying. We then have the shower just here. Do make sure that the shower screens are secured for travel. And then we have the nice large wardrobe at the rear. And we also have the two infills for the lower bed.